Welcome back to Just the Facts, y'all. My name is Jimmy, and today we're going to do our Texas versus Oklahoma State preview. Number 6, Oklahoma State. Texas on the road, traveling to Stillwater. Tough place to play versus an Oklahoma State team who is 4-0, undefeated. Like I said, top 10 team. Are they overrated? We'll find out Saturday. So first, let's start off with Texas and the three things that I want to talk about coming into this matchup. A good win versus Baylor last Saturday. It was an okay performance offensively. For the most part, we started off slow once again, which is nothing new here at Texas. We've done that for the past 3 years now. Starting off slow, we won't be able to afford to start off slow versus Oklahoma State. I will get into that later, but good team win. But there are still problems here at Texas. I'm not satisfied with the win at all. We should have beat Baylor. For y'all diehard Horns fans, Quinn Ewers, #1 quarterback prospect in the 2022 recruiting class, has decommitted from Texas. So, yeah, if you don't think there's a problem at Texas, there you go. Tom Herman has to go, okay? And heading into this game versus Oklahoma State, Herman's teams, as we know, as Longhorns fans know, we play up to competition. That means we play really, really good against really, really good teams. And then we play down to competition, which means we play really, really poorly against not so good teams. And we're playing a good Oklahoma State team, so that's a good thing. And three things for Oklahoma State: they are in the Big 12 / even playoff race. They're second in the Big 12 to Kansas State right now. They play Kansas State next week, so this is a huge game for them leading up to that Kansas State game. Oklahoma State can prove in these next 2 weeks or so, along with the Oklahoma game, how elite they really are, if they are elite at all. Oklahoma State should try to make a statement against Texas to prove to the committee that they are a worthy top 10 team. And Spencer Sanders is back for Oklahoma State. He didn't have the greatest game ever, but at least he is back. So the offense is going to look better for Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State has been the best defense in the Big 12 by far this season, only giving up 12 points per game. In a season full of teams not playing defense all across college football, Oklahoma State's been a consistent team playing defense, only giving up 12 points per game. Now let's get into the matchup, as the first question I have is, how will Texas stop Chuba Hubbard and Tylan Wallace? First, let's start off with Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard had a really, really good game against us in 2018, not so well in 2019. 2018, he wasn't even the starter, but he still had 8 yards per carry versus us. But in 2019, he ran for 121 yards, and you might think, well, he ran all over y'all. No, not quite necessarily. He ran 37 times, which averages out to like 3 yards per carry. So we did do a really, really good job on Chuba Hubbard in 2019. So let's see if we can duplicate that. We're going to need to duplicate that. And everyone's been talking about Chuba Hubbard being a Heisman candidate, talking about Chuba being the best running back in the Big 12 and maybe even college football. But they do have a backup running back by the name of L.D. Brown, who's actually been pretty good for them too. Returned for 229 yards, 37 carries on the season, and it has 6.2 yards per carry and only 1 touchdown. But he's another guy that we have to really worry about, not just Chuba Hubbard. We expect Texas to load up the box, and that will force Oklahoma State's quarterback, Spencer Sanders, to throw the ball more. And yes, that's the game plan Texas needs going into this, is to force Spencer Sanders to beat you. Because if we do that, I personally don't think Spencer Sanders can beat us. Spencer Sanders tends to turn the ball over a lot. He had 2 turnovers versus Iowa State the previous week. And in 2019, he had 11 interceptions. And in our matchup in 2019, he threw a couple picks in that game as well. So we're more than capable of forcing this guy into some mistakes, forcing him into some bad throws. He's not the most pinpoint accurate quarterback you'll ever see. The season, we haven't been good at getting sacks and all that stuff, but as of late, we have been getting better at pressuring the quarterback. Tylan Wallace played great against us in 2018. Remember that primetime game? He had 200 receiving yards. Don't forget about Dylan Stoner. He's been there forever at Oklahoma State. Don't forget about Braden Johnson. Oklahoma State's always going to have playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. So we just have to key in on all of these guys, not just Tylan Wallace and Chuba Hubbard, but all their great offensive pieces that they have there. But our main thing is force Spencer Sanders into big mistakes, and I think Texas will have a really good chance to win this game. And one thing I want to say is, our guys got to stop dropping interceptions, man. Deshaun Jameson, Jalen Green, whoever else, all y'all, BJ Foster dropped a pick, but he had a club on one of his arms. I can kind of exclude that. But other than that, our guys got to stop dropping interceptions. Our DBs, for some reason, lack ball skills, lack awareness on deep passes. I'm talking about. They lack ball skills and awareness on these plays. They don't turn their heads around to try to make a play on the ball. It's so frustrating. Now, for Texas offensively, can we score effectively? Now, Texas is 6th in the country, averaging 45 points per game, but it does not seem like that from my standpoint. Versus TCU, we only had 21 points up until the fourth quarter. Versus Oklahoma, we only had 17 points total up until the last 4 minutes of regulation. And we had 2 scoreless quarters in that game versus Oklahoma. Versus Baylor, we had another 2 scoreless quarters. Great offenses that really average 45 points a game don't go scoreless in quarters that often like we do. We're not an elite offense like our numbers would suggest. Our 45 points per game would suggest. It's just not. It just hasn't been that effective, man. And as of late, Sam hasn't been that great either. He had an okay game versus Baylor, but we can't run the ball 3 yards per carry. I don't know. We want to be a run-first team, like I say every episode. We want to be a run-first team, but we can never run the ball. Bijan Johnson better be running back number 1. Not that he's really much better than Keontae right now. He's more talented than Keontae. He's just a breath of fresh air. Maybe he can do a little bit more things than Keontae at this moment in time. Bijan, I expect him to be way better than what Keontae has been, though, as time goes on. But as for now, I just still want to see Bijan starting. And I do not want to see Sam Ellinger running the ball all day long. This is not 2017 Texas where he ran the ball pretty much half the game. And this is not even 2018 Texas where we're just physical and our offensive line was really good and Sam was firing on all cylinders. This isn't that team. Sam took a lot of hits versus Baylor and he almost got knocked out of that game. Not that he's not sliding, but he just has to run so much. And I'm talking about on pass plays. On pass plays where he's trying to throw the ball down the field and guys are just not getting open to the point where Sam just has to run it. Guys have to get open. Our receivers have not been able to create space. Our guys haven't been able to get any type of separation. I don't know why. Our guys seem so slow and sluggish offensively. I understand a guy like Brandon Eagles because he's like 6'4", 230 or whatever. I understand why he might be a little bit slow. But all of our guys seem so slow, man. Josh Moore is probably our fastest guy, but he's not even that fast. Tariq Black is really slow. He got caught up. Our guys don't seem to get open unless there's a busted coverage by the opposing defense. And that's sad for the University of Texas to not have athletes like that. And to be fair, I think a little bit of the speed is compromised. From our guys because we really prioritize holding the ball high and tight. And I think that takes away some of the arm movement of the runner, and therefore the speed just kind of slows down a little bit. But that's no excuse really for our guys being slow. Like, what happened to Brandon Eagles and Jake Smith, man? What happened to these guys? These guys were supposed to be the best 2 receivers on our team, projectedly, right? Were they? Yeah, they were. And they're nowhere to be found this season, pretty much. I know Jake Smith was injured, but Brandon Eagles hasn't been there either. Tariq Black has been a disappointment so far. Josh Moore has been the only consistent one, and he hasn't been that consistent, but he's been pretty good. He needs to keep making those highlight catches, those mosses. It's pretty great to see. But Sam needs to be more accurate. You know, he's not going to have Colin Johnson out there to just throw the ball up and he can catch it with a 6'6" frame. He doesn't have Lil Jordan Humphrey out there with his 6'4" frame. He doesn't have Devin Duvernay with his sure hands, and he's able to create space. We just don't have guys like that this year from the wide receiver group. We're still talented, but we just don't have that number 1 guy, or maybe even the top 2 guys. We don't know who the top 2 receivers on our team are. Maybe Whittington was that guy, but he got injured. Now, as for Oklahoma State's defense, I have to really mention them because they are so experienced. The reason why they're so good is because they're so experienced. Their guys have been there forever. All their starters pretty much were juniors and seniors on that defense. Rodriguez, you talk about Calvin Bundage, you talk about Trey Sterling. All these guys are their best. These are the 3 defensive players pretty much. And they're very, very experienced. They've been there forever. This is going to be a tall task for our offense and our offensive line, which has not been playing great this season at all. We have to be able to protect Sam, and guys got to be able to get open. we got to get the ball out quickly because these guys are coming, man. Oklahoma State's defense has only forced 6 turnovers on the season. We do a really good job of taking care of the ball for the most part. That's one good thing I can really say about Texas. But Sam now tends to throw a pick every game, which he didn't do in the past 2 seasons until now, which I don't know. Sam has to play better, man. Sam has to play like 2018 Sam for Texas to win. Keys to the game is Spencer Sanders. Will he be really, really good, or will we force him into a lot of turnovers? Will we force him into a lot of mistakes? And my second key is who will get a faster start. The last 2 teams that have won the matchup has had the faster start. Texas in 2019 had a faster start, going up 14-3 early in that game. But Oklahoma State in 2018 had a faster start, going up 31-14 by the time it was halftime in that game. Texas likes to start off really, really slow. I don't think we can afford to start slow on the road versus a really, really good team. Texas has to start out fast, and I think Oklahoma State has to do the same. Oklahoma State is going to break free after Texas hangs in there for a half or maybe even 3/4 of the game. But once adversity hits Texas on the road versus a really good team, Texas will fold. And I got Oklahoma State winning by the score of 35-27. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a close game. There's no doubt about that. Texas wants to play a close game every single game for the past 3 years. Yeah, that's going to wrap it up, man. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Whew, let's try to get this win on the road, man. Tom Herman, that's an underdog. But anyways, man, this is Jimmy from Just the Facts, and I'm signing out. Hook 'em.